everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, CardHoarder.com, Alter Sleeves, as well as Twitch subscribers and Patreon supporters just like you. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Ruben Bressler.
Good evening, friends. It's great to see you.
It's another wonderful Thursday evening here. And if you missed our pre-show, subscribers to this channel get access to our NSFW version early. And we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is, of course, thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we get to kick off this week with the insiders of baseball. TCGPlayer has decided to acquire ChannelFireball and BinderPOS. I
am so excited for you to explain to me what this means, and I'm not being sarcastic at all. Sure. This is the insidest of baseball, and that's what the show is about, especially when Evan gets to tell me what business means.
Okay.
we're doing a business. Okay. So TCGPlayer has been for quite a while now, the largest marketplace for buying and selling, at least selling Magic cards. Buying is different because it's generally based usually sometimes on events and the ability to walk into a store and just sell your collection. So TCGPlayer has been working with a lot of stores to get them onto their software and onto buying and selling things through their point of sale system through TCGPlayer, sending cards to TCGPlayer so they'll sell them for them, minus the fees and so on and so forth. And ChannelFireball at one point or other decided to pivot just from like selling singles to being a TCGPlayer sort of counterpart where they were selling things for stores through their own point of sale system called BinderPOS. And there's actually stores near here in Knoxville, check the bingo box, who are using BinderPOS. Now, they note here in the announcement that BinderPOS is used by a couple, like hundreds of retailers, which isn't that big of a sort of saturation point around the country. But if you realize that TCGPlayer already has a huge footprint, extending that footprint while also taking on that brand name could help them in getting their, their tentacles out to more and more stores so they sell through them. Ultimately, this will likely not affect too much of what like CSI does or Card Kingdom does or even SCG does because the marketplace is very large. TCGPlayer already has a nice long footprint. This isn't going to expand it much, in my opinion. But what it's going to do is it's going to expand their reach into retailers and point of sale systems. And if they can bring that BinderPOS and their current solution, which I don't even know what it is anymore because they changed it 2 or 3 times over the years, if they can, get those all together, then you have that one cohesive system and they can do better promotions and just better sales through everything being in one system versus the current 2 that they bought.
Yeah, one of the things I was wondering is because, like you said, they did transition away from their own singles into essentially a competitor for TCGPlayer, making their own marketplace for sellers. And I'm wondering if that was kind of a position, because I don't think at that point you can think that ChannelFireball by itself will be able to take over as a marketplace. But I'm wondering if that was just a move to put themselves in that sphere to possibly become more. So I know some businesses sometimes do this when they would like to be bought.
Yes. They
will position themselves in a way that is more appealing to a potential buyer. So that seems interesting to me. My biggest curiosity out of this whole aspect is what is this going to do for any sponsored streamers? I know ChannelFireball had a few. Mostly they were being paid on commissions, similarly to a couple of the TCGPlayer activations that they have. But I wonder if they'll keep them over or if all the ChannelFireball creators are maybe just out of a job now.
From what I've seen about, I should have been taking notes because I want to hear, I have like 3 things I want to ask Evan. But specifically as it pertains to the ChannelFireball creators, I believe they are unaffected.
Right. Right. As of right now, things stay the same, was what I understand.
I don't know what that means for their future, what that means for their future contract negotiations. Right. As far as I have heard from negotiations as it pertains to contract in effect, nothing is changing for those content creators.
It's just the easiest to not rock the boat. And, at this point in time, those content creators and that marketing arm of the business is the least important thing right now. And having that just run is great. And it's definitely, I've seen that theorem where basically it got to the point where, there's so much overhead when you're buying, let's say 1,000, 2,000 boxes, opening all of them, sorting all of them, listing all of them, shipping all of them, dealing with all the customer support and the chargebacks and the fraud and all the other crap that you have to deal with day in, day out for running this stuff, versus saying, hey, we've built a brand, we've built traffic. If we can integrate with this, point of sale system, we can set us up to be purchased by the other largest leading, provider of this service, and we just meld in. They've been at it since 2009, I think was when ChannelFireball first showed up. And so, if they get a good payday, they don't want to do it anymore. I can certainly understand that. I think the fact that they bought CFB events was almost tangential in many ways. Like, I don't think that was like something they were excited about per se. I think it was like, well, it's included, right? You're like, well, okay. So you ran a Command Fest earlier this year. That was about it.
So I have a couple of clarifying questions. First of all, POS means point of sale.
That's right.
Which means that this is primarily, as you mentioned, not a buying situation. This is a selling situation. So theoretically, ChannelFireball. So is ChannelFireball dissolving?
We don't know yet. We really don't. At this
they
point,
could still buy cards and then just sell it on the BinderPOS/TCGPlayer marketplace. And I don't know what that means.
Well, ChannelFireball,
that's a big question.
Go ahead.
They might keep ChannelFireball open just because ChannelFireball events already has so much prestige in that realm. If TCG Player now wants to run events, I don't know that I would get rid of the ChannelFireball name and tack my own name on there. You might just want to have both. TCG Studios owns DGen Gaming, so it's not like...
Right. And for what it's worth, TCG Player did run a alternate tournament circuit. You remember, Ruben, the TCG 5Ks, TCG 10Ks, and
sure do.
You can get like points or something in them to get buys and events and all this other stuff. It was a whole thing. There's also the ChannelFireball physical location in California, and right now, again, everything's staying the same. But is that going to be rebranded TCG Player? Are they just going to keep up ChannelFireball? I have no idea.
So those are all ephemeral to the central part, which is the point of service sale. Just clarifying, I'm sure this is the correct answer, but the most popular POS was TCG Player, and the second most popular was ChannelFireball? Question mark?
Question mark. As far as I know there were some other competing programs and software packages out there, but I know that BinderPOS.
Do we know how much of the market share either or both of them have or had? Because if this is the largest one and it's eating the second largest one, that's clearly a big deal. But if TCG Player already had 90% of the market share and ChannelFireball had 5%, I don't know that that's a big deal.
Yeah, in terms of go ahead, Mimsy.
No, you're good.
Okay,
I don't understand enough of it to speak about things as well.
Right. I would just say that, basically due to the TCG Player already had, as far as I know, a very commanding lead in the space. Like they had a ton, most of the stores were already using TCG Player. And to be clear, the point of sale system allows them to do things like list all of their inventory live in front of people who are in the store and online. And so when they sell one on TCG Player, they'll pull it from their live inventory from their store, so they won't double sell anything. But having all of that work, end to end is awesome for the stores, and they get to sell singles that way and buy singles that way really easily and move it through the system. And TCG Player gets percentages on all those sales. As far as I know, they're very flush with cash, and CFB was looking to sell, so here we are.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if the main names that works wasn't LSV a partial owner of Channel.
Right, he was a founder. John Sasso, I believe, was still a part of the management stuff there.
And I imagine a big windfall is coming for those guys. I just don't know how much of the company is being sold. Right. I don't know how big a portion of ChannelFireball this portion of ChannelFireball is. And I don't know how, again, the market share question of how big of a market share did it have? And because it certainly sounds like big news, but going from 50% of the market to 70% of the market is way different than going from 90% of the market to 92% of the market.
Right.
It's not, I would love to get my grade bumped up from a C to an A. I'm not that broken up if my A doesn't become an A+. You know what I mean? So
The nice thing about this being a seller's marketplace is not that so I don't think we're necessarily losing as many options if this were just the two biggest stores turning into one big store would be a lot scarier. But because this is a marketplace and it's sort of, it has thousands of sellers on it, that self-corrects the market. So it does kind of prevent them from like jacking up prices and creating a monopoly that way, because the site itself just takes a fee. So we're not actually worried that Etsy is really the only site selling artists' things, right? Etsy has the whole market. I mean, there might be some smaller ones, but that's not an issue.
Kind of like a stock exchange too, yeah.
Right. I think there's two ways to look at this. For in terms of a competitor in the large space between, for example, like Cool Stuff and Card Kingdom and SCGs of the world, they stopped being a competitor when they started being a marketplace. Like that just kind of, you know what I mean? They no longer try to help to set prices or of anything, because at this point they were selling through, having people sell through them. And the other is, as a player, is anything going to change? Well, maybe if you try to sell cards, TCG Player having a sort of a stranglehold on the fees that they can charge because they become the only game in town can get concerning.
Sure. Okay. I can see that. I mean, for me, it's like, this is not going to affect the companies like Cool Stuff, right?
Right.
Where that use their own websites to sell cards.
Correct.
This is only going to affect people that use the point of sale service or are eBay sellers or something like that.
eBay has the same issue, right? Whatever their fees are kind of go. And it's hard to say if eBay's down, well, how am I supposed to, sell my random piece of crap I want to sell? Where are you going to go to sell it?
I also would ask, I've never used TCG Player Marketplace, and I've also never used BinderPOS. Mm-hmm. If either of you have used one or the other, preferably if either of you have used both, is there a difference in the quality of the software? Are we losing something in BinderPOS either going away or being swallowed by TCG Player?
I've never played or bought on channel from when it turned into a marketplace, but I have bought and sold on TCG Player.
I've bought on TCG Player, like their website before. I've certainly heard the gnashing of teeth over the things the TCG Player software may not have done over the years, for example, and how BinderPOS solved some of those problems. What they may be varies from year to year, honestly.
Right.
But, for example, like having the inventory, because right now, software will allow you to list your inventory on eBay and Amazon and TCG Player and any other place you might, or your own website, for example, that you can do all of those things, and that's their software built for that. But yeah, overall, I don't know.
Okay.
One of the things I wanted to mention real quick was that you were saying that now they have a stranglehold on the fees. I actually think that they're more capped on that than you might expect, only because already on both marketplaces, the margin for fees is kind of small, especially on some of the hot ticket, high selling items. And I'm not just talking about expensive. I'm just talking about like quick turnover items. Is oftentimes the buy price is from Cool Stuff or Card Kingdom leaves a very small margin as is for those fees. Because once you factor in the fees of the sale plus the shipping, oftentimes Cool Stuff will just give you more money for it. And I'm not even saying that like as a sponsor, any store, go to a GP or a Command Fest and you can get oftentimes just as much or more for what you could get if you sold it on TCG Player.
It's true. And, the market is as the market does, and people are free to shop where they would like. So, but yeah, this is huge in that, if nothing else, it's the end of an era, right?
Sure. Like
ChannelFireball helped define what Magic was to some degree, good or bad, for years and years. Like help build personalities, help build, entire sort of stars in their lineup where you knew who the team ChannelFireball was, you cared about them, you wanted to hear updates from them, you got cool bits of content from them specifically as Team ChannelFireball, and I thought that was sweet.
I mean, that kind of already went away.
It did. Well,
right?
it went away when competitive Magic kind of faded.
I don't know what era this is the end of, is all I'm saying. Like they've already kind of gone away from, if ChannelFireball dissolves as a result of this sale, that's a huge deal. But I mean, this is just another chunk of the ship of Theseus going off into its own realm somewhere else. Yeah. So, I just went to to Limited Resources' website. Still says they're sponsored by ChannelFireball.
Right.
I just went to ChannelFireball's website. It's still there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this news means as it pertains to the future zeitgeist of what Magic the Gathering means and the resale and the content.
Right. And what I was noting is that generally in these situations, the marketing, the front facing, the stuff, the content creators and the authors who write for the website, that stuff usually changes last. You want all the back end stuff to change, the leadership to change, the technology to change, I
wouldn't expect sponsor stuff to change at all until we had announcements.
Right.
A company acquires another company, the ship just keeps running until the change happens.
Got it.
And, we won't find out anything else until much later.
So the ship may have run out of gas, but it's going to keep drifting.
Yeah.
They'll let a company continue to run, not just in this situation, but then they'll send someone from headquarters to come and let those people go or lay them off. But that happens months or a year or so in.
Right.
Okay.
So either way, that is definitely some amazing news.
I mean, it's definitely the biggest news of the week. I just am not a smart person to know what, or in this sphere, I'm not smart enough to understand.
We had something like this happen very recently as well, which I think we briefly mentioned, but we definitely didn't cover it nearly as much. And that was Ultra Pro acquiring Legion Gaming.
Yes.
Yeah, we spoke about that a little bit.
So it's similar to that.
It could be.
It could be. We don't know what the situation is. I know Legion Gaming, the same guy is still doing the printing and he's still running as is. That was, part of their agreement, was that they just wanted to up their production and he kind of works for them now, is my understanding.
Yeah.
But all the cool sleeves and stuff are still coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's benefits to both, essentially. To say, it's better to keep that second company just running. If the company's making money, the staff are already there. If those people are happy, there's no reason to rock that boat. Or maybe there's some issues in the back end and it's better to integrate them all together because XYZ. I know Legion Supplies had built a large network of producers and production houses, as I understand it, throughout Asia and maybe Europe. Who knows rather. But I know they had a bunch of those connections to make sleeves and binders and deck boxes and all that stuff that people want easily. That was what they did. They made that stuff happen. So, all right.
Thank you for explaining that because I needed it.
You bet. At least I can do. So we won't cover from the top rope silliness. But we will move on.
I wrote the joke about the memes. Don't worry.
There you go.
Memes. There were memes associated with all of this, and we'll joke about them.
We'll get to that one. So we move out of the first pick to gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, cardhoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. This week in Gather the Townsfolk, we had a really interesting promotion sort of question mark. Wizards has noted that there's been an issue with Pauper card availability, specifically key Pauper commons from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. This obviously isn't an issue. You don't hear about this from arena players or whoever. But for those who run after the digital objects, they decided to give Pauper fans 2 copies of each of the 38 commons to a group of players as part of their weekly patch. It's going to go to all the players who participated in one of the following: a Pauper League course anytime in 2022 until last Sunday, or a Pauper Premier event anytime from July 1st, 2021 through last Sunday. And they have a whole list of the cards they're giving them for free, as well as the cards being remaining in treasure chests. But the key to me is that they are providing a benefit, a bonus, a promotion, a cool thing for doing something you had no idea was going to earn you that bonus or promotion or cool thing. And how good is that? And should they be using that more often?
I mean, that's great. That seems like a cool fix.
It's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
I'm happy for the people playing this, but 2 things. And there's going to be people who are like, I would have played if I knew, and there's the feel bads.
Right.
And then also, why do Pauper people get it? I've played a dozen drafts. Why don't I get a free draft? Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, it leaves some feel bads on either side of the fence there. I don't know. Like, why are you rewarding these players and not these players? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do this. people like to complain, and I feel like this is a very easy thing for the majority of people to complain about, and that makes me hesitant. But I mean, I think free stuff's always good.
Wait, Magic players complain?
Yeah.
Oh,
sometimes, from time to time.
That's wild. For me, I think part of the key to this being something that doesn't create giant feel bads, like there is going to be people who just miss out and they don't like that. That is what it is. But if they miss out on a cosmetic, an avatar, a sleeve, an emote, or whatever it happens to be that they give them, if you make it something that isn't, worth dollars, because that can be exploited and gamers going to game. But if you make it something more interesting and cool, I think you can really reward people kind of out of the blue, but in a way that makes them kind of say, you know what, it's worth it for me to play, 100 card historic brawl. I love it, but that one time I also got rewarded for it. So I still want to play the format because I like it, and I could get rewarded for it. Like, I didn't do anything to get that thing, but I got that thing because I was playing the format I liked in the first place. Yeah, it's one more reason to play.
It's a feel bad to get left behind when you didn't know that there was a thing to get left behind for.
But it's also going to foster a sense of, I have to play one of everything every quarter to make sure that I'm included in all these things. And then you have people sort of kind of in the back of their mind expecting things.
Right.
And then it's just like, eh. And then also, like, again, you're showing sort of favoritism to a particular format and not other formats. And that is unfair.
Maybe.
I don't mind. I'm happy for them. But, like...
I mean, and they're giving away commons, right? That was important. Like... These cards aren't very expensive. So, like, a couple pennies or whatever each worth of value tops, I think. And maybe more because they're hard to get. But for me, the key was like, man, I thought it was really interesting that you can reward players for doing something they had no idea they were earning rewards for. And
I actually love it. I hope the community receives it well.
Yeah, I think it's neat. I would love to, for them to be like, hey, you know what? You like to play a lot of standard. So here is the, extended art version of this cool standard card that you played with a lot, for example, right? This was the number one card you played in your decks. You get the extended art version of it because you did that, right? There's just so many cool ways you could use that. And I think it's neat.
And it's a huge influx of new copies, which means more players.
Yeah.
So, or hopefully translates to more players for Pauper events.
I think the way that I would put it is that the perfect amount to print of any Magic set in the history of Magic, I don't care if it's Double Masters or Fallen Empires, the best amount to print for Magic is 90% of the demand. If you hit 90% of that demand, I know it feels bad for those 10%, but there's also an incredible emotional pull for those 10% not to get left out again. And if you overshoot it, you get the Homelands, Fallen Empires, you overprinted and it sucks. And if you undershoot it, you have serious problems with getting access to the product like Dominaria, which sold out everywhere and you couldn't get it for weeks and weeks. And so like it's that push and pull of just printing just the right amount to make people go nuts. And so that to me is very similar in that, you want them to be like, damn, I missed out. But you know what? I'm going to try and make sure I don't miss out next time. So I'll jump through the hoop and maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Moving on here to something unfortunately way more serious. Brian DeMars, who's been a popular sort of content creator, he's been involved in the sort of legacy vintage community for a very long time. Wonderful dude. I met him at Pro Tours. The guy's fantastic at Magic. Unfortunately, he suffered a serious accident on the 4th and he almost died and fractured vertebra and stuff. He was released from the ICU yesterday, and this yesterday being July the 10th. So he's been home for about 4 or 5 days now. He's grateful for the love, support, and kindness, and that's exactly what we're providing here. Love, support, and kindness for Brian. He's awesome. We hope he gets well soon. And my God, it sucks to hear.
I used to see Brian 2 or 3 times a month when we were in the Midwest PTQ grinding scene. Part of that Ann Arbor crew that I would drive up to and see every once in a while. Nothing but love and respect for Brian. I have nothing bad to say about the dude, so I hope he recovers and is there's no ill lasting effects.
Yeah. I actually I didn't know about Brian until I saw this tweet pop up on my like recommended or, 50,000 people liked this or whatever thing. And that picture he posted, wow.
Yeah.
That got me to stop scrolling. That was a very, very serious accident. And I'm very, very glad that he was able to recover from it. and was only in the hospital for 6 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure feels like a very long time, but it looks really bad. So I'm very, very glad that he got to get home and is feeling well enough to communicate with the people who love him.
Yeah. He, he was roughed up pretty bad there. With the black eyes and all the tubes and things once you're in a hospital like that. And it sucks to see anybody that you care about in that situation. And again, we hope he gets well very, very soon.
Yeah.
But we're going to bounce back from something that is unfortunate and awful to something that is cool and interesting. And that is Tony Dieterlizzi throwing it back to the 90s when his wife and friends helped pose with blankets and capes and pretend they were wizards for this crazy card game he was making cards for. You can see here the reference for Brainstorm in Mercadian Masks and Coercion, originally from Mirage. Nether Shadow, originally from Visions or Mirage. It's one of those
Nether
two.
Shadow? Jeez. That's pushing it way too far back.
I mean, Venomous Breath from Mercadian Masks again.
Yeah. I mean, he had a ton of stuff in Mercadian Masks. I remember seeing a lot of his stuff early because I started playing in Urza Saga Legacy, and he did Treefolk Mystic, and also, perhaps most famously, Crop Rotation, that original Crop Rotation. But I had about 30 copies of Treefolk Mystic and Crop Rotation, and those are sort of the cartoony, lighthearted style that he has, that has become his trademark. He also did the hilarious but weird Hive of the Eye Tyrant. That was the dungeon module version of Hive of the Eye Tyrant.
Nice.
That has the goofy, like, this guy on it. And yeah, he's great.
I did not know this. So these are actually his cards, and these are photos of the people modeling for him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty insane. I would like to see who modeled for Verdant Force.
He even showed us the mouse.
Yeah, he shows the mouse from Giant Growth. Isn't that amazing?
And we could get a copy of the original Giant Growth mouse. This looks like some sort of discovery book.
Yeah, it's like a nature magazine or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that incredible?
So amazing.
That's so cool. I love it. Fun story, when we had all the Brainstorm products for GP New Jersey that SCG was running at the time, I did contact Tony and his representatives. I asked him very, very nicely that I would bend over backwards if he could make it to the event, and unfortunately, he was booked. So, but regardless, this stuff like this that just, this to me is the stuff that makes Magic awesome. And, it's silly, it's a little tangential, but it just kind of, it shows you another little aspect of what makes the game great. You didn't even know this random person holding a candle became one of these images that was very iconic for many years in a set that you liked years ago, right? That's gone. That's awesome. All right, let's see here. Let's move on here to Desperate Ravings. Check out our altar sleeves. Support the show by using the code MagicMikes at checkout for 5% off anything in the store, including a set of exclusive sleeves featuring the Magic Mikes crew at altersleeves.com/MagicMikes. We went here to some Desperate Ravings. Now, y'all need to be aware that for whatever reason, there is a version of the Double Masters 2022 collector pack that is in a box. That's a pack.
Okay.
In a box. All right. And so what people are doing is they're listing Double Masters 2022 collector box on eBay. And people are buying these things with one pack in them for almost $200 when you can get a whole, 4 packs or whatever for a little over $200 or $300. And so this is gross and could have been avoided with a very clear moniker or label, likely. You don't know. But it's pretty scummy, a little scammy.
Yeah.
And your grandma might not know the difference. Your aunts and your uncles who are trying to be nice to you will have no idea that this is not the right thing to buy.
Yeah,
yep.
That's pretty bad.
You and I know the difference, would never fall for this or whatever, but this isn't who's falling for it, And
yeah, the image actually does look a little different, but if that's the price they're going for, then that's the price they're going for. And anybody who's getting birthdays, girlfriend, presents kind of thing, or boyfriend might get you a present. I don't know.
And
yeah, this is a sucky thing, and people are definitely exploiting it. I would recommend to everybody to always tell people not to buy off Amazon in the first place. They have a really bad repacking problem, and the way they take in product is that 10 different people will send them product, and then they will take all that product with the same code and put it into the same box. And then they have no real way of knowing who repacked that product. And yeah, it's just Amazon is sucky for Magic products. And also, you guys should want places to play. And the only way we will do that is if we buy them from not Amazon.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Amazon, for those who are, remote and they don't have local game stores, I understand. There's also other options you could look at, like coolstuffinc.com. Yeah, but regardless, I get it. Sometimes you get an Amazon gift card, you do what you got to do. But like buying sealed from Amazon in particular is just a crapshoot and is likely to bring feel bads.
Do we think that WotC knows what's going on with this? And if there's a easy fix? Like, by an easy fix, what I mean is take down all the fraudulently listed, but not really fraudulently listed listings. Like, is there...
Right. Like,
I mean, I don't think they can, but I think they know because there's videos and stuff about it.
Right. There became, for example, there was a reckoning... I don't know. Maybe it was a year and a half ago or something. At some point, the Pokemon company was like, we're really sick and tired of people making fake Pokemon cards. And the people who were selling bulk lots of fake Pokemon cards were really making them upset. And so there was a point where there was a request for basically how do you get product? How do you verify the product is real? And you needed to jump through those hoops in order to be a reseller of certain products on the site. I don't know necessarily if that's happened for Wizards, but I know that was a thing that happened with Pokemon a while ago. So, maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. I know it came to a head most recently with Time Spiral Remastered, in that was a very expensive set. And at the same time, there was some guy on an Etsy-like site who was selling the shrink wrap with the Wizards logos all over it. And
that was one of my first news shows here.
Yeah. Oh, I was losing my crap. I was just like, Wizards, please, dear God, you got to stop this. And they did take action as far as I can recall. They did shut that down.
The shrink wrap seems to also be a little inconsistent, which also makes it a little hard to verify. Because I got product that I know is legit, and the shrink wrap is like kind of not very shrink wrappy. It's like kind of loose. And I've actually had ones that I find that are legit that don't have the Wizards logo on it.
It really? Ebbs and flows. For example, the some of the commander decks and or the precons, or like the free decks they give to stores and stuff, you'd be surprised that the cards that they have in them can feel fake. You know what I mean? There's like this rare doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. It's like it's a different company that printed it, but it's still a real Magic card. So
I got a thing from Amazon. It was actually bought by a viewer. As a gift. I wanted the jumbo D&D dice for my D&D show. This giant one. And this came only in the D&D collector fat pack. So my viewer got it for me and purchased off Amazon, because that's the easiest way to get it to me without sharing my address. But it came all shrink wrapped and funky and like kind of ripped. So I just called Amazon and I was like, I don't think this is real. I think this is damaged and or fake and or tampered. And they're like, okay, we'll send you a new one. You just keep that one. So I opened it for science, and the rares in it, I mean, it wasn't like a home run, but like probably stuff that someone who repacked probably would have taken. Sure. So sometimes the packaging is also just really wonky. Yeah. And I got 2 dice.
Incredible.
There has been situations where literal pallets of product will be misshipped somewhere, and Amazon is just like, just keep it. We'll literally pay off the people whose products are on that pallet. It's worth it to us just for you to let it go and give it away to whoever, and don't worry about it.
That thing you just said reminded me of something that has nothing to do with Magic, but it's a very funny story, and I want to tell you it. I have a friend who made a short film about dead mice. Doesn't matter the rest of the details. Had to order about 200 dead mice in order to make this short film. Completed the short film, and it was done. 6 months later, received another shipment of 200 dead mice by accident.
God.
and was like, hey, I don't need these or want these. What's your return policy? And they were like, we don't have a return policy on dead mice. It's our mistake. Just keep them. He was like, just keep them? These are 200 dead mice.
What did he do with the first 200?
He put them in his film. Like they were used in the filmmaking process. I don't know.
Sure.
But then, so he hangs, imagine in the world where you are this person and you hang up the phone and you're like, all right, I now have 200 more dead mice to just have.
Why do you ever want 200 dead mice?
For a film. Listen.
Right, for a horror film set or something.
Mice? And why can't you just get 2 mice and then move them around the house in whatever?
Again, I'm not the film director here.
They literally just like slaughtered those 200 mice for this film.
I'll be honest with you. I bet the real mice are a lot cheaper than the fake mice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you probably don't need that many. Why do you need 200?
I don't have more answers. All I have is this stupid story.
He's got a stupid story. All right, well, I got another stupid story, okay? And it has to do with Magic. Wizards' ranking system is broken. Wizards' ranking system...
segue.
Yeah, into a Magic Arena is busted. It makes no sense. It's wrong. They miscoded it. And at one point, it got wrong and it stayed wrong. There's a whole article that explains this about the 5 MTG Arena rankings and where you're at in them. And there's a ranking that starts from when you first start playing and that sticks with you forever and all sorts of stuff. The TLDR, as posted here, one who wrote a synopsis, not the author themselves. It says, if you lose a game, you lose rating like you played your opponent. If you win, you gain rating like you played against a copy of yourself. This means that if you are favored to win, extra rating points are created, and if you are favored and lose, rating points are destroyed. Since favorites win more than they lose, rating points inflate over time and broaden the rating distribution to a breaking point, which explains a lot of the oddities people have noticed, such as free-to-play accounts cruising right to Mythic, or being able to intentionally tank your rating by scooping dozens of times in Diamond to make Mythic more easily. So you can manipulate the way that it's adjusting your ranking, and there's this other ranking that you get when you start playing. That's where they're talking about the free to play goes straight to Mythic. It's fascinating if you like that kind of stuff, and if you want to see behind the curtains, of Arena.
That's a huge leak. I think you can slingshot your way Spider-Man style. That's interesting.
And people have.
I'm curious as to how they got that data.
I agree. Yeah. I feel like there's a whole bunch that Arena writes, to like a log file, and that's where a lot of these services on Tap, 17 lands, stuff like that, get and use their data. And my guess is the rating information might be in there as well. Don't know. Let's move on here to splash damage, to something that sucks real bad. Friend of the show. Sponsored by Cool Stuff, awesome dude I've known for 15 years or something now. al-Eldrazi is the first, as far as I know, and I hope the only ever Magic streamer that has gotten swatted.
Yeah,
and this is where police enter your home and search everything you have and scare the living hell out of you, and bad things could happen, and it could get worse and gross.
Yeah. So the way swatting works is someone will call law enforcement and under false pretenses either pretend to be the person or pretend to be someone close to the person that the target is. In this case, from what I understand, the person called law enforcement pretending to be Ollie, made a series of fraudulent claims about hurting himself and others for about half an hour, from what I gather. And then this triggered the response from the SWAT team to go to the suspected violent situation's house. This is obviously incredibly dangerous to the person who's being targeted. And oh, by the way, if you're targeting a Twitch or otherwise streamer, it is all being captured live on camera. Absolutely horrendous, terrifying, and I would not wish it upon. I mean, I don't have any super bad enemies so I can't wish it upon my worst enemy. The type of person that does this is vile. I am extremely glad that it seems as if there were no injuries from this. However, when Ollie opened his door, a gun was in his face. So that's not great. And I'm just glad that everyone is alive.
I have had this happen to a handful of my content creator friends. This happened to, she streams Magic. Sometimes she was on my F2K team. Ollie Straza?
Yeah.
Similar name. She got swatted as well. I have a handful of friends that I know that did. There's a pretty famous swatting story. The one that didn't have such a happy ending is where the police got the wrong address. So the correct address was given to the streamer. However, the police kicked down the door of the neighbor's house and the neighbor died because the neighbor saw someone break into their house and they tried to defend themselves and the cops shot them dead. Now, I do believe that they found the person who did that false call. But yeah, bad things can happen. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't have my name public when I first started streaming. And it wasn't until Wizards of the Coast forced me to make my name public.
Yeah.
It is awful and disgusting that it is, once you reach a certain level of success, it is in your best interest to call local law enforcement and say, hey, there may be a chance that people try to get you to come raid my house.
Well, the other thing is, like, I don't think that would happen. I don't think I'm famous enough for that. But also, I don't know that Ollie would think that he is, right? Like,
right.
What's the bar?
Right.
What's the bar? Do I need to call local law enforcement? I find that hard to believe. If everyone as famous as me had to call local law enforcement, they'd never get off the phone to go talk to other people.
No, like, I've also had creators say that they've done this, and then the law enforcement has just like laughed at them and hung up on them.
Yeah.
Like, they don't take it seriously. Like, they're not going to take the time to pull up your file and put a note on your address.
God,
like, Ollie is not verified on Twitter. And neither am I. Ollie has about twice as many followers as I do. I'm just saying.
I mean, neither am I, so it's fine.
If this is right, but what I'm saying is that you're not.
And I have 3x the followers of Ollie on Twitter. So do I need to do, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, Ollie, exactly. So you two are both in the same wheelhouse Twitter follower wise. Now, again, I don't really know how this translates to overall fame points.
Yeah. Like
the currency of the people. But yeah, it's wild. And when you are a public figure, even someone as lowly as your average everyday Magic streamer, this can happen. And it's a huge wake-up call. So
this is really gross.
It's horrendous.
And there's no perfect term for whatever trash person decides to do this. I don't know why you would ever do this. I don't know why you would ever think this would be okay. It's disgusting, horrible, and vile. I like that word, vile. All right. So let's move on here and turn the corner.
I will say the silver lining is it ended up okay for Ollie. No one was hurt.
He wasn't hurt.
I want to end the show on some amount of positivity.
Right. Everyone's okay.
Everyone's okay in this case.
Yeah. A little traumatized as expected, but again, that is as expected.
Oh, well.
All right. Let's turn the corner here to the finisher. The TCG social media game has been strong this week. SCG and CFB had a fun sparring session a few days ago over BinderPOS's sale. Card Kingdom and Cool Stuff both have been killing it recently with their tweets, and folks like the Professor have been absolutely killing the game with his edits. TikTok is the current final frontier. So tell me, fellow legendary creature elder millennials, how are you going to get in with the youths on the TikToks, Ruben?
Well, a recent trend uses a clip from Oveen Herbie's song Rabbit Hole. Seriously, like, have you seen my silhouette? Sheesh. You heard that one? And showing off their curves to that song. MTG could do the same and maybe flip their bad press on how bad their curling is into some of their main character energy.
You're not supposed to be horny on main. That's a That's the
Hey,
thing.
listen, it's not my song. I'm just telling you what the kids are into.
It's true.
The high pitch there was pretty perfect.
Sheesh. That's what the kids do, is they point to this part of their arm with 2 fingers and they say sheesh. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means.
We're too old to know
I'm
what this
old.
means.
I have a dab emote, even though I didn't know what it meant forever. I still don't exactly, but like a viewer was like, you need a dab emote. I will pay for it. And I was like, if you want to pay for it, man, fine. But I have one and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Dirt Girl?
All right. So we all need a new print of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, with the flavor text reading, Fuzzy Duck, Ducky Fuzz, does he tuck? Tuck he does.
Perfect. Have you heard that audio? That audio is my favorite.
It's your favorite?
It doesn't say tuck. It says the other one.
I can't get the my money don't jiggle jiggle.
Yeah.
So I can't get it out of my head.
Wiggle. Yeah, it's great. So
Stuck.
he's a 10 out of 10, but he doesn't have trample. He's a mana value of 5, but none of it is generic. He's a 2, but he also has some promos that are like a 6. And I think we all know with stats like that, he's a Gigantosaurus.
Perfect.
And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Ruben.
This was the weirdest joke I've ever written, and I'm glad that you joined me on this journey.
Does he tuck?
Tuck, he does.
And we move to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and Alter Sleeves, my co-host, MTG Nerd Girl, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. Hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, and do everything social tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.